wielding with reverse grip, fact or fiction? The Great Reverse Grip Experiment, Week 3. Today we are going to be testing reverse grip as an off-handed weapon, meaning we will have a forward grip weapon in the front hand and a reverse grip weapon in the off hand. We're going to be testing this a variety of different ways. We're going to be doing 2 long weapons, 2 short weapons, and a mix of long and short weapons. As an opponent, we will have 1 weapon in forward grip, 2 long weapons in forward grip, and also 2 short weapons in forward grip. So we're going to thoroughly test and see if reverse grip is effective against any of these other opponents. Here we go. We are going to start off with double short swords. So Matt is going to be double forward grip and I'm going to be forward reverse. The reason we're starting with this is because I think it is the most likely to be successful, because double forward stick or forward sword is actually a real and useful martial arts style. Filipino martial arts uses this a lot. They don't really, however, do this, but we're going to see if it works.
I got my forearm a little bit after my
after the initial.
A little bit after.
Yeah, that got through. Yeah. Yeah, this. Oh yeah, stab. Couldn't do anything about that.
Do you think my hands
Flat,
now?
flat.
Okay.
Yeah, hand. Got my hands on the way in. We're gonna switch. I'm gonna be double forward. He's gonna be double reverse to make sure this is fair. Yeah. We got caught on that. A little bit.
Give me arm.
Got you. Got my head. That was a little bit round one. Okay. I got him in the head. Got that hand, that forward hand.
Okay.
Got that hand, I think. Maybe. Keep going. Okay, as a control, we're both going to be in forward and see how that works.
Okay.
Maybe?
Maybe?
I think I did. I think I got that hand.
Okay. Yep, got the forearm there. Oh, got the forearm.
I think that got your hand on the way in.
Maybe.
Definitely got me too. Got that hand.
I feel it's so much safer.
I know, right?
So
So
much
safe.
safer.
Got that hand. What you got me in the other hand? Yeah. Got that hand on the way in, guys. Yeah. Okay, so let's analyze that a little bit. When I started off forward and reverse, I found that I was trying to use this as a shield, and it kept on whipping over and hitting my arm
Or the hand.
or the hand. I've seen some styles that kind of have this up here, and I was having some success, but I was totally open anywhere else. I was mainly using this as the attack. This was useless as an attack, so Matt only had to concentrate on 1 weapon. I had to concentrate on 2 weapons. It was really hard. I felt like I was at a major disadvantage. When you switched over to reverse grip, how did you feel?
I felt like I just defaulted to fencing with a
One
single
hand,
sword,
yeah.
because I did not want to stand there like this, because this is all, like you said, exposed, and it just, you can feel it. It feels wrong to be like this to me.
I had to switch to having that as my forward foot, and this
Right.
is the backhand. So I compromised reach with this hand to get a defense with this hand.
I felt like, in the interest of not getting hit, I ended up just keeping it out of the way because I didn't feel like it was very useful. So I just tried to focus on being a good fencer with 1 weapon.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit more success on this
Yeah.
one because I have done.
And I have never studied an offhand backwards like that.
Well, I never done studied backwards, but I've done 2 short sword
Right.
fencing before, so I was able to kind of keep up with this hand. When we moved to double forward grip, how did you feel?
I mean, that feels pretty good, actually.
This felt pretty good. I was able to block and attack at the same time. I was doing a little bit more of the traditional stuff. which I'm not an expert
I
at.
tend to be a pretty forward fighter.
Yeah.
I like to have my weapons somewhere.
And I found that this style specifically was a lot harder to do against someone that had double forward. I felt that I always was having to open up something. When I started fighting here, I felt like I had a lot more maneuverability.
And it's also worth pointing out that if you take that philosophy of, I'm going to open up like this and then follow up. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
This doesn't always just blow their sword out.
Yeah, it doesn't.
A good fencer will feel that, and they'll just be right back on.
And I think that when you're doing it with somebody else who's fighting this way, it might be something. But I had to adapt if you were here.
Yeah,
So
this just feels very secure and natural to me.
But definitely this felt a lot better than this, and I think it showed in the fencing that this just wasn't super effective.
I just don't feel like it gave me anything new that I wanted to do.
Let's go ahead and do, let's move to these versus a long weapon. I think it's a waste of time to do one sword against two. No one's going to argue with us that reverse grip and offhand might have more success than just one short sword and reverse grip because it's 2 versus 1. Okay, so Matt's going to start with a long sword and a forward grip, and I'm going to start with 2 short swords, one in reverse and one in forward grip.
Might have touched my thumb, but I don't know what part you touched.
The flat of the blade.
Okay.
I managed to parry, but I had nothing I could do.
Might have cut me a little
No,
on the shoulder.
it was flat.
Okay. The offhand has no reach.
I punched it. No, I did, but I had nothing there. I got my hand. That's my crossbow. You got my hand. It just reaches over every time. He got me. I lost an arm, but I got his hand.
Sure. You might have got my thumb.
Okay, I think this isn't working.
No, not really. It might be better.
Got me. That time I got me.
You got my hand that time.
Double. I stopped a lot of the force in that, but it still got me. You got me. The length of that sword is a lot.
Yep, it's let's just show them. Almost a foot.
I did get hit, but
You took out so much
I
force.
took a lot of the power.
There was no power.
Oh yeah, thrust. I would have hit that though.
Yeah.
That would have definitely been a double. Mine had very little power.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got that. That was mine.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and switch. Matt's gonna switch, and I'm gonna take a long sword. Just to be fair. And
I thought that it wasn't clear.
yeah, I got better. Too
I
fast.
see it coming. I have to tell you.
Yeah. I got the bad dude. Yeah. Alright, switch.
Yes.
The length of the sword is a lot. Yeah, you got me. That thrust wouldn't have done anything. You got me. Yep.
That touched me a little.
Yeah. I got hand first.
Yeah.
And then I got that.
Yeah.
So for this one, this sword, the length of this sword was a huge factor.
In all cases.
In reverse grip, I was totally exposed because I only had one weapon to work with, really. Every time I tried to parry with reverse grip, he was able to easily get over my guard and get my hand. I tried to scoop with it. I tried to punch with it. I tried to block with it. I tried to have an active defense. And every time I tried to do it, it just was inadequate because my hand was too exposed.
Right.
How did you feel when you were in reverse grip?
Because the smart thing to do with an offhand device, in my opinion, is to be active with it.
Yeah.
But that's assuming it's a dagger with a handguard or a button.
Yeah. So you got hand
So if I'm
protection.
holding it, even if I try and hold my hand out of the way,
All those
it
exposed.
feels, and it's awkward to do this.
A lot of people tell you to reinforce with the forearm to take the sting out of this, but the problem is it's so thin. That's all I need, and now I'm cutting into the hand.
Well, and if I'm parrying
Yeah.
like this with it against my
Yeah,
forearm,
I put the forearm before I get the
it's not, even if I take it dead on.
dead on. Even if you do that, it's still gonna. How'd that feel? It's actually, I took it dead on and just rolled off.
If it has a back edge,
Yeah.
it might cut my arm.
Well, so that didn't work.
And here's my question. What am I gaining versus just doing this?
And that's the next question. When we went to
Nothing.
forward grip, what did you feel?
I felt like a million times better.
A million times better.
Yeah.
I will say
I
it
felt
was still
safer, more aggressive, and defensive.
When I was doing double forward grip, I felt like I was a lot more of a threat and I could defend better than I did with reverse grip, like 1,000%. But I still was this was clearly,
Yes.
this one clearly had the advantage with its reach.
And there's no disadvantage from the size.
No.
It's not heavy. You have two hands
Yeah.
on it, so it's very nimble.
So yeah, because of thrusting and being able to quickly receive, this one just it seemed to do better. But I want to test this again with something like a katana, which is a little bit shorter and is more focused on cutting. So let's try it with a katana. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 1 forward, 1 back against the katana. Then we're going to switch, and then we're going to do double forward against the katana and then switch. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, but if you rolled over onto this, it would have cut me first. Yeah, you
Sorry.
on the first one, you ripped it over. Ah, I got that one. No, that was a good one. Yeah, alright, forward. That was mine. Yep. Mine. Ooh, that did catch me, so I took a lot out of it.
You did take a lot out of it.
Double.
Probably a two double, yeah.
I'm dead though. That's mine. That's mine. That's something. Thrust again. This action is very powerful in this grip. It is not powerful here.
You can't even do
I
it.
can't even do it. Try it.
How would you even do
Just
it?
trust me. There's nothing to
It would
grab.
almost make more sense to come up.
Trust me. No power. I'll switch.
Okay.
Did I get through that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Got that. You might have got something on
Maybe.
there. Did I get that hand?
Maybe. You also got my head.
I'm dead.
I mean, you just got me good. I don't know which one was better.
Alright, double forward. There we go, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, got it. Got my hand.
Barely concentrated on that.
You did catch it.
Yeah.
That had almost nothing on it, mine. I didn't have any power on that.
Man.
Hands are just a good target.
They're a great target. You're what's holding the weapon.
Gotta get that.
Yeah, you did.
I got your shoulder, but you got me too.
Yeah.
This was realistically a lot the same as the longsword.
Yeah, I mean, it was, that handles like a long sword
It
that's a
handles-
little bit shorter.
It's a little like a
so-
short longsword. We did do more cutting than thrusting. I didn't do a whole lot of thrusting. And that did make a difference. I felt like it was that double forward grip was more viable against this because this can't thrust quite as well as the longsword can because of length and other things. But with the reverse grip, it was the same story.
Yep.
There was a lot of arm and hand cuts. There was a good number of hand cuts in forward grip, but that's not uncommon for normal fencing.
Right.
Hand cuts.
It
But
happens in longsword on longsword.
yeah, but there was an inordinately higher amount of hand cuts in
Yep.
reverse grip. And
You either have to keep it out of the way,
yeah.
or try and be defensive with it, which means you have to have your hand out.
So I really tried to keep in a forward defensive manner. I tried to do both scooping and punching. I tried to do parrying and active hand. and it didn't seem to do much. Matt kind of tried to keep it back and every once in a while throw it out. He had a little bit of success a couple times where he just rushed me, but then he did that again with the double forward grip.
Yeah, that's not a smart tactic.
Well, he did it with double forward grip and he did it more effectively.
Yes.
So double forward grip is pretty good.
Right, I mean, a lot of the things we see are you have to be fast or aggressive, so I kind of kept that in mind. The thing about being aggressive with the offhand is there's no way to bring this to bear on someone without first doing something very telegraphy and they see it.
In the first couple of examples, I tried to close distance with the front hand, to parry with the front hand and attack with the backhand, and I found that even though I had the opening.
I was just going to say that.
I had the opening, but it didn't do any damage. Now, if I had had in the front hand, I would have absolutely done some damage.
So yeah, I tried that a couple times too, I think. But what you're talking about is something like this, kind of a distraction or an opening blow and then follow up?
Yeah, something, well, I meant more like a scoop. And
okay. Well, I was thinking a couple times, I think I tried like an opening blow and then
and it was easy.
And it's just, even if you had 2 in forward grip or just 1 in forward grip, he knows I'm probably going to try this next. And it's going to take me time.
So far it's not doing a whole lot, but we're going to move on to 2 full-length swords and see if for some reason it starts to work there. So we're going to try this with longer weapons. I'll be honest, I don't have an infinite gear supply. These are the only synth katanas I have, so I've never heard anybody say that you should have a forward grip longsword and a reverse grip longsword, but I have heard people say that you should have a forward grip katana and a reverse grip katana. We're going to test this out, and we're going to switch it back and forth and see what the deal is. So here we go. Is that crossguard?
You might have got my finger a little bit.
With my hand. Did you get my hand?
Yeah.
No, although cut through. I got me, but barely.
Yeah, a little bit on the wrist.
He got me more. And no, he got my hand on that one. I did stab him, but again, at the cost of my own hand. Haha! Underneath the guard. I did get your
Get my hand that time.
Yep. And if he aims for my hand, that's it. Alright. I'm not sure how realistic this is weight-wise, but... And... This is basically like the 2 forward short swords.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do this as fast with steel.
No, katanas are quite
Forward heavy. So I don't think this is 100% realistic if I'm honest. And... Double. Yeah, he blasted through that because he's got 2 hands. Okay. And he had a lot of stuff coming at me, but none of them made contact.
Yeah.
Maybe.
My hands get tired.
Okay.
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, this is lighter, but it does still feel kind of forward now.
So the katana can be a one-handed weapon, but primarily it's used as a 2-handed weapon. So using it as a one-handed weapon versus a 2-handed weapon, this is going to have an advantage. You got through. That's all I needed to do to counter it. Got it. I got it. That's just forward.
Okay.
Oh, that was stupid on my part.
No, it was good, actually.
What you got me, I wouldn't have stopped you.
True.
I ate that hit.
True.
I should have parried.
Okay, fair enough.
I should have parried. And yeah, we got my wrist too. This is faster with 2 hands than that is with 1.
Yep.
And did I get that? You can put your hand right. You got me. Yeah, you got my hand. It's definitely more formidable. So our findings from this are that the 1 in reverse, it did just about as well as the short swords. It just, every time there was an attack, and it was in reverse grip, and he went to parry it, or I went to parry it, I could easily blow through, if he tried to attack me in the range, but if he tried to block with it, I could just blow through this and hit the arm,
or adjust.
Or I could just target to the hand.
It doesn't take much to change direction.
It's because the way that it guard, even this, the Subas on that on that, I've held it normally.
It's designed for
It's
slice.
designed to block that. I didn't hit Matt's hand. It'll kind of bounce it off there.
I also think that
Yeah.
these serve as a hand stop
A little bit.
to keep your head from going up
But
that way. But
there's some protection.
there's some.
In this,
It's a little bit more than nothing.
with this, it's the first, here the blade is presented first. There's a blade in the way, here the hand is presented first, no matter what I do. 2 forward was more effective,
Yeah.
but it wasn't super effective.
Less
and again,
ineffective.
the caveat I will give to this experiment is that these are a little bit lighter than steel. And the reason that we chose to do this with synthetics is because synthetics are cheaper, and I don't have an infinite budget to buy steel swords in every variety that we're going to use today.
They don't hurt as much.
They don't hurt as much, but these are a pretty good analog. I'm not sure that
We could do a lot of repetitions too.
I'm not sure we could go quite as fast with 2 katanas in forward grip, but it was more effective than one in reverse. I still think that this had the advantage because I could use the leverage action.
Well,
I feel like using katana,
Hold up the blade.
yeah, and it also is longer.
It's longer. But it's always a good thing.
We're going to talk about dual wielding in a different video,
Sure.
so let's cut this off here and go to the next thing, which is 1 long and 1 short. All right, so the final test we're going to be doing today is 1 full-length blade in forward grip and 1 shorter blade in reverse grip, like this. This is probably the most common thing we hear when people are trying to defend reverse grip as a viable weapon. So we're going to test it out. We're going to be testing it out against 1 long-bladed weapon, and we will see how it goes. Yeah, can. Right. Oh man. I got you a little bit.
Right here, yeah.
But it was very weak because I had to twist this way and then back the other way. This is the same as the other 2.
I don't have to do this to hit him hard.
That breaks skin and cut muscle. That would cut down to the bone.
Yeah, you would not be holding that anymore.
All right. Oh, it's hard to hold on to. Double.
Got my wrist.
Fine. This is a parry. It was a solid parry. You got me, but I took all the force out of it. But I didn't get a hit, so no harm done. Fine. Yeah. You got my hand, but I got you. Alright, and double. Alright, switch. Reverse forward.
Okay. I'll try. I really am trying.
We're really
I
trying.
really am trying.
Got that hand before you made the cut.
Good breath.
We're finding a different thing we're going to talk about in a minute.
Like, he's got so much more length.
Got that one.
Might have had something in
You
there.
tangled me up pretty good.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got my arm too.
Wouldn't have stopped my cut because it was with the wrong hand. Ah!
Sorry.
Let's go. Spinny cut. Forward.
Forward? Okay.
I think I would have stopped that cut.
Yeah, you
I cut into the hand on the
would have
way.
made me stop cutting for sure.
Yeah, that was great. No, he totally utilized that weapon correctly. I'll be honest, I'm getting tired. This has been
Well, I mean, we're both getting pretty
this has been an hour of fencing.
I mean, that's the thing that happens when you fight.
Yeah, did I get in there?
Yeah.
You took a lot out of it, I'll be honest.
Not enough. I caught it with the heat.
Okay. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Thank you.
Okay. With all of this, I think the major takeaway that I'm getting is that reverse grip didn't help in any situation.
No. It was all, you know, you can talk about this in terms of pro cons or risk benefit.
Yeah.
You know, reverse grip, risk is always hand is exposed, having to lead with the hand. Benefit, there are maybe some benefits.
I did not find a single benefit.
Same benefits exist forward.
Yeah. So if you're talking about 1 sword versus 2 swords, Having an additional sword in general means you have one more thing to put in the way of you and your opponent. So there is a benefit if you're talking about simply the perspective of one sword versus two swords. But then the question becomes,
If
you've got two, why not have them both in forward grip? Because reverse grip comes with so many negatives, as we found every once in a while, and it was every once in a while, we were able to make a parry. And if you want to talk about this from the perspective of we're not trained enough to do it yet, I would argue that we've been training for a long time, and if we can't figure out one simple thing. But again, this is not our first attempt at doing this, but it is the first attempt in this year-long experiment. We will revisit this. But so far, I'm not finding a benefit.
No.
And then with two full-length swords, I really found no benefit. The reverse grip was so slow.
I actually feel like having two full-length ones at all was almost a drawback because it's
I want to do another video.
a lot to manage.
I want to do another video on dual wielding in general. We did one on long swords, but I want to revisit it because there are systems of dual wielding that work really well, and I think those are with the shorter weapons, like you see in Filipino martial arts and some other stuff. There are European systems of dual wielding. There's dual side sword. There are
Case of
rapiers, but you'll see
but
those
they were oddities.
They were oddities. They really weren't the mainstay of that weapon. So we're going to talk more about that in a future video because it's something worth revisiting. But in the context of this experiment today, how do you feel about reverse grip as a secondary weapon?
I don't think I would choose to do it ever, honestly.
Ever?
Nope.
If you had a secondary weapon, would you find any reason to put it in reverse grip?
No.
Would you think it was a benefit in forward grip?
If it's a smaller weapon,
A
yes.
smaller weapon in forward grip was a benefit.
Two short ones feels real good.
I'll say that the katana specifically, I found that I would have preferred to have two hands on it because it's such a leverage-based weapon. I know that there are styles of katana that use one and a wakizashi, but I feel like I would have felt more confident with the leverage. It was coming out of my hand sometimes.
Yeah.
With a rapier that is primarily a thrusting weapon with some cut, I don't feel the weapon's getting jerked out of my hand like I did with a katana because it's all this kind of action, and I have another one here.
Well, and a rapier has the reason they have finger protection is because you can hook your finger over, which helps grip immensely.
So I found that for me, and this is not to say it's universally the case, but from my experience, katana and secondary weapon, I felt like I would have done better with just the katana.
Yeah, the only thing I felt good with
Two
things
was the short
was
ones.
two espadas.
Espadas, yeah.
Two of these guys forward.
Two
That felt
forward
pretty good.
short swords was extremely effective.
Especially if you're fighting someone who has a much longer weapon.
Yeah.
You can deal with that weapon and have
come in. It still was a challenge. The
Yes,
longsword,
it
it
was
was not like the double espada had the advantage of the longsword.
No.
I would say, maybe it's just because of our experience, but I would say that it was either still the longsword had a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
But it was formidable. You could not just when it was in reverse grip, you could kind of phone it home with a longsword.
Yeah.
I just target the hand and sit back and be prepared to win.
Yeah.
But when you were doing it against this, you really had to get two of them forward. The great reverse grip experiment, week 3, conclusion is still not great, but we're going to test it more, so stay tuned for next week! Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this or any of our other content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support allows us to keep creating shorts, fencing videos, and our major projects. When you support the team on Patreon, you get access to behind-the-scenes content, discounts on merch, opportunities to game the crew, and so much more. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the fun stuff Sellsword Arts is doing. You can even ring the bell if you really feel like it. You can also join the community Discord and chat with the crew and other cool people with similar interests. And if you don't agree with something that I've said in one of these videos, you can always fill out the duel request form and challenge me to a duel so you can prove your point. You can find our Patreon and Discord link in the description. Additional links are in our bio. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next video.